My name is Lauren, and I've worked in the neuromuscular community for about 20 years, and Laurie and I have known each other 20 years, and so this is really lovely to be here and honored to present. I just want the members of the Les Turner team to raise your hands or stand up if you're around. They're in the back, and Easton's over there by the window. So everything that we have talked about today, right? I mean, all of these different plans that we expect patients to integrate into their daily lives is really a challenge. And so what our team does is help the family provide a personalized approach to confidently navigate. So we reinforce the questions and the care plans that are offered at clinic in the home. Our mission is to provide comprehensive care to support people in the Chicagoland area to confidently navigate. You're going to hear me say confidently navigate, because this is really what we're here to do, is to give people hope as we continue to work towards funding research for a cure. This is just a pretty graphic. If you guys went to our walk, this would have been on your t-shirt. We had a huge walk this year. Sunday, it was 7,000. I know it was just Sunday. There were 7,000 people at Soldier Field, and this really embodies some of our focus, which is cure, care, and community. Les Turner was started in 1977, and we've raised over $73 million in that time. This is just a cute picture of our walk. If you haven't had a chance, really, it's a great way to come out and be a part of the community. There's medical providers there that you'll have a chance to meet and engage with. But it's just so fun. Like, it's just the energy. Mickey and Minnie were there this year, and kids were playing, and teams had really fun costumes, and it's just a celebration, right? So we've been talking about all this medical stuff. How do we live? How do we live in our community with ALS? And the walk really demonstrates that strength and the power of the community. Again, our direct funding, we provide research specifically to Northwestern to fund that. And then we also fund the clinic, the Lois and Sully ALS clinic here at Northwestern, which we really strongly support. And that's why you had this lovely opportunity to engage with all of our multidisciplinary providers today who presented. It's a high cost. Not everyone's able to do this, but we really believe strongly in the power of multidisciplinary. And then, of course, the majority, a large majority of our budget goes to our support services team and education. So this is just a fancy graphic to show you how this Les Turner ALS Center is comprised of. So we have the clinical activities, education that we're doing today, and some basic research. So Dr. Cal presented his work, and we have actually a research conference coming up that I'll talk about later. And then we have these different buckets that are all comprised, and uniting the care and education is part of our support services team. And then we have the 4 different labs plus other ALS research that we do fund. So this is the symposium that's coming up on November 11th. We have Eva Fieldman, who is an amazing researcher out of University of Michigan. She's going to be presenting some of her work, and this we're very honored to be able to be in our 9th year, I think, of doing the symposium. So I just wanted to point out, Eva Fieldman presented at the National ALS Registry meeting, which is the registry is sponsored by the CDC, and she spoke in Atlanta this July. And she did an amazing presentation of uniting environmental factors that we're looking at. And so what does this mean for you? Whenever you have a person saying, I wonder why I have ALS, I think it was caused by this chemical, or I think it was caused by that. That should prompt you to just say, are you a member, or have you registered with the National ALS Registry? And we can, Cara, who I don't know if she's left, she can help enroll. So just get in contact with us, and we can assist with enrolling the patient in the registry. So they have an opportunity to participate in different risk factor surveys. And so that's really powerful and helpful for the research community to be, again, to look at some of those things at a higher number, right? So we've heard some stories around risk factors, but this is really an amazing project that's been funded for a while, and it really helps families be engaged, and it's also first time like a gateway into research, an opportunity for them to participate. And the registry also funds researchers, and there'll be some more information coming soon about a project that they're funding at Northwestern. So Sandra already talked about the importance of multidisciplinary care and how critical this is. And at the center of the multidisciplinary care isn't all these professionals, it's the patients and the families. So, right, how do we incorporate that and together work as a team to co-produce care? And we're very proud of the work that you've heard from all the providers today. I just wanted to provide you with some additional resources. NEALS is a really important resource for us for research, and we're a member of that, and we're very proud to be a part of that. Clinicaltrials.gov, which is a little difficult to navigate, but is, of course, a nice resource. And then when people start asking a lot of questions around supplementals and et cetera, we usually redirect them to talk to their physician and visit ALS Untangled, which is an initiative out of Duke, and also an MDA also fund research in ALS. So again, the primary focus of Les Turner is to support the families in their communities. So if I encourage you guys, I'm going to feel like a little social media, but follow us on social media. It's really important because it's an opportunity for you to get alerts on when there's different educational opportunities for families or different ways to engage with the community, and it's just a really fun. We just came back from a camping program, and there's some really great pictures and showing families living with ALS. So we've served 233 people last year living with ALS in the home. So we have social workers and nurses who go into the home and provide that care. We have 31 clinicians here at the Les Turner ALS Center and researchers. And so this is just a wide variety of ways that we serve the community. We're a small foundation. We have 17 staff members. I wanted to raise this very important issue today, is that individuals with ALS, veterans are 2 times more likely to have ALS than the general population. So that's really important for you to know. Anytime, always ask. Don't just wait for somebody to offer. Are you a veteran? That's critical. And then the next thing our team does is we refer them to the Paralyzed Veterans of America, because they have representatives that can help walk them through the whole process. I mean, you can get up to $85,000 in home modifications. You can get caregiver support, transportation. I mean, it's just, it's your dream, right? To be able to have and be able to provide all these services that the VA offers. And I know there's some folks from Hines here in the room, so thank you for the work that you do with individuals with ALS. So again, the first step is to connect families with the Paralyzed Veterans of America, and they can really point you in the right direction, the families in the right direction. Again, this whole idea of the ecosystem of care, we do a lot of intensive work with home health agencies and hospice. I know we have a couple hospice agencies here. We have an educator that goes out to the different hospices across the Chicagoland area and does some education. So that way they're aware of ALS and how to work with families and what that looks like, and to ensure that continuity of care. And the other thing that's really beautiful about the Les Turner ALS Foundation is that we also do joint visits with hospice. So if a new nurse is being assigned to an ALS family, you know, we're more than happy to do joint visits if that's a person that we serve, and to be able to help with that familiarity and comfort, and to provide that continuity of care. So in sum total, because Laurie's going to really speak to the heart of what we do, I'm providing you with the big picture. So we had last year over 908 clinic appointments here at Northwestern, and we had over 1,600 visits with our social workers and our nurses in the home. We have a grant program, so we provide we provide grants for home modifications, for transportation, for respite care, which is huge. We talked, a lot of the conversations today were around caregiver burnout and how important that is to have the opportunity to have the respite care. And then a really powerful piece of our program that we offer is support groups. So we had over 525 people participate in our support groups last year. And so with that, I'll pass it off to Laurie.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Hi. I have my phone up here because my teenagers have trained me well. They say you get so excited when you talk about your work that you better time yourself. So I won't keep you here any longer than I need to, for real. I'm very proud and honored to co-direct our home services team with Lauren. This is my 23rd year with the Les Turner ALS Foundation. I started when I was 12, so it is my honor to tell you what we do and share ideas and hear yours as well. As the Director of Social Services, this is what I try to make sure that our amazing team does for all of our people with ALS as well as their families. That's something I always say I'm very proud of with the foundation. We know that this disease affects everyone. So our services are available for everyone. If you said, who do you see the most? I would probably have to say it's the spouses or partners of people with ALS. And it's often outside of the home because they need an opportunity to talk privately. So this is a list of our support services. I didn't pick the picture because I don't think I'd put myself in there. But we have all of these things that you can read, and I know you've heard about a lot of information today, and I'm going to try and kind of move this along till I get to the case studies, the case examples, because I think it's the families who best teach us what we need to know. I love this slide, though, because it lets me brag about everything that we do and then some. But if you're a person, a professional who works in a clinic setting or a home health setting, I'm sorry, I don't remember where everybody is at, but we're your connector out in the homes. Because when a patient comes to you, they can show or tell you anything they want or don't want on that particular day. And lots of people like to be the good patient and say, everything's fine, it's fine. And then how many times have you seen a spouse sitting behind the patient going, no way. Okay, so then we have the privilege of going into the homes and we really see what's going on, which allows us to best serve these people with ALS and their families. One of my favorite things to do, I've done this since the day I started with the foundation, back when I was 12, is to facilitate support groups. These are amazing. The people who come to be a part of it are like a family, and there's something really powerful that happens. If you're familiar with this disease, then you know it's isolating. So even family members and lifetime friends who want to help you, they don't understand what you're going through day to day and what your family needs to do to help you or a caregiver. When you walk into a room that is for a support group for people with ALS and their families, all of a sudden you don't have to explain anything. And that's very rare for our people with ALS and their families. So it's extremely important. We would appreciate if you let people know that these support groups are out there. Okay, now we're in trouble. I have a microphone and I get to talk about children. Could be a while. I have the privilege of working with most of the families who have children in the families. These are the people who can actually be the most devastated when someone they love has ALS. Not that a spouse isn't. I mean, it's difficult for everybody. You can't really measure that much pain. But if you think about kids, your own or kids you know or love, and horribly try to imagine them dealing with it, you'll find it's kind of a scary prospect. So it's helpful if you can give the parents or grandparents, I'm going to pretty much stay with parents here, because those are typically the kids who are impacted more when it's one of their parents. But you want to keep as much normalcy in their days and weeks as possible, because that's what they know, that's what they're used to. So in the past, people have been a bit offended when kids said, but who will make my lunch if mom is sick and mom can't use her hands anymore? And I love this because it's so simple, but in its simplicity, it's so profound. I also think that from the things I teach about helping children, it's really children of all ages. It's not just the kids who need to know this. The person with ALS needs to know, well, I used to make all the meals. Who's going to feed the family? Who will go shopping? And the person who becomes the caregiver, the main caregiver for that person with ALS says, how the heck am I going to go to work and make the meals? So there's a lot of complexity in this simple slide, and I am kind of dating myself with Charlie Brown, but he's timeless, so we'll use him. You want to tell your families, if you're in a position, if you have the opportunity to try and guide them a little bit with helping their kids, these are kids first, no matter what. So even though they have a parent with ALS, if they're a teenager, if you have teenagers, they're still going to push that parent away and push the caregiver parent away because that's where they are developmentally. It gets kind of ugly because there are so many other things going on in an ALS household, but they're kids first. ALS, it's an ALS family second, and while some people's inclination is to just give the kids whatever they want, do everything for them. That would be mine. I'm the softie in the house. All the kids know it, so do the dogs. But it's really important to keep regular boundaries and limits. No, you can't stay home from school today. No, we can't get into those kinds of habits that are counterproductive for the kids because it's normal for them to need to go to school. I'm going to come back to this idea when I talk about a case study. Uh-oh, full screen, hold on. It's what happens when you talk with your hands. Sometimes parents don't realize that even though they can't do what they used to do, the kids see with their hearts. And you want to encourage your people with ALS to still pay tons of attention to the younger people in their family. Even if they can't participate in a game anymore, the kids still want you watching that game. And that's coming up in previously said case example. I've watched many people with ALS over the years find incredible new ways to show their love. They've reinvented themselves as parents, and it's extremely important because kids follow our lead. The way that the kids handle this is the way that they see their parents and their families handling it. So you want to encourage your person with ALS and their partner to not hide things, but keep the real personal stuff behind closed doors and let the kids see that there's still some normalcy. There may not be a lot, but at least some normalcy that they can count on. We want to encourage kids to talk to their peers. We don't want them isolated by not telling anyone what's going on. You want to encourage them to have their friends over. You also want to encourage kids to talk to a trusted adult. That may not be one of their parents. Kids tend to naturally want to protect the people that they love, so they may not go to the person with ALS or even the spouse or partner and say, wow, is dad going to die? But if you have other adults in their life that they love and know and trust, that's very helpful for them. So you want to, as practitioners, encourage your families to make sure they have that for the kids. Could be a teacher, could be a social worker at school, could be a clergy person, could be a family friend, godparent. You know, my kids love their godmother way better than me, so they talk to her. It's that kind of thing, especially the teenagers. They're not going to come to their parents. Remember that kids need outlets, so the parents need not be offended when the kids want to go to a football game with their friends. They need to get out. They need to get away from it. Couple things to keep in mind. You can tell this to parents or grandparents of kids no matter what the age. Always tell the child, one, that this disease is not their fault, because kids will take that on. Think about it in terms of divorce. You've probably either experienced that or know someone who's experienced the concern that a child thought that parents got divorced because of them. They take that on. So we don't want them taking it on, and we also want them to know that their loved one didn't do anything wrong to get the ALS. We don't know how it happens, but it's not because you did something wrong. Even when you were wild and crazy in your youth, that's not what caused it. You also need to speak the truth to the kids, so please encourage your families to do that. And I write the question, what is age-appropriate truth or honesty? And that's a whole nother conversation. But you do want to steer them away from saying, well, everyone dies, if a child says, is mom gonna die? If they're asking, they need to know the answer. They already know everybody dies. But that's for another day, because I want to get to the important people. So this first case example is about a boy who was, I started working with his family when he was 8 or 9, and this conversation occurred when he was around 12. And he taught me something so profound about 15 years ago that I'm obviously still talking about it, still processing. He explained that he was very upset because his dad wouldn't come to the pool with him. Now, Dad had just gotten a power wheelchair and really should have had it several months before. So Dad had to be in the power wheelchair. And Dad could not understand what the heck his son was asking him to go to the pool for. It kind of hurt him. He didn't understand. Again, because I have the privilege of working with the whole family and had some sessions with this 12-year-old boy, I learned he wanted to show his dad his new dive. He knew his dad couldn't go in the pool with him. He still wanted to share it with him. And that kind of speaks to some of the things I said earlier regarding the fact that people can reinvent ways to pay attention to their kids and be a part of the children's lives. I learned a lot of that from a boy named Sean, who, by the way, I saw at one of these conferences 3 years ago. I had these big hands touch my shoulders from behind, and I look up, because I have to look up at everybody, right? And he said, do you remember me? I said, oh my God, I started to cry. I said, of course I do. Hi, Sean, what are you doing here? And he said, I'm in college now, and I'm trying to get into medical school because I'm going to cure ALS. See, I can't even finish my conversation with you because the kids are tough to follow. They're so wise. But a little bit more wisdom. This comes from an 8-year-old girl who was the oldest of 3 girls. So this is a young family. Their dad was diagnosed at, I think, mid-30s. It's a while now. In my young memory, doesn't remember exactly, but I think he was 36 when he was diagnosed, just to give you an idea. So they were very young. And I was working with the girls, usually all 3 together, upstairs in their room. You can imagine the chaos with the bunk beds, and they wanted me to jump, and I didn't do it. But this girl taught me such an important lesson that I still say it to every single child that I work with or the parents of those children. This child wasn't sleeping. And I mean, not sleeping. 3rd grade, right? 8 years old is 3rd grade, I think, that year. And I tried to figure it out, and I couldn't figure it out. And finally, in one session, she was messing around with her sister on the bunk bed, and she mentioned not wanting to go downstairs in the morning. I said, wait a second. Is that why you're not going to sleep at night? And she said, yes. I'm afraid that I'll find my dad dead. Live and learn. So I share the wisdom with every family because we don't know what those kids are thinking. They get it. She's 8. Boy, did she get it. And she was terrified. So you could say to me, okay, yeah, but what do I tell people then? That's a nice, profound story, Laurie, but what would I say to the parents? And the thing that you want to tell the family is to let the kids know, they have to know the truth. That's a whole other conversation. But the other piece to that is they need to know that as far as our doctors have told us, this isn't going to happen for a long time, and we will let you know when the doctors tell us differently. So that gives them the idea that they're working with good professionals who are trying to help their loved ones and that they can go to sleep at night, because everybody's expectation is that that parent will be there with them the next day. See, the wisdom of the kids. I just listen to them, and then I share the wisdom. His family makes me cry. As I think I've indicated, it's very humbling work, especially when people allow you to work with their treasures, their children. That's a lot of trust in the worst time of their lives. So I take it very seriously, except you wouldn't know that when I'm with the kids. I shoot a lot of baskets with kids. I had one very angry 6-year-old boy almost take off my head 2 years ago with a new lacrosse ball. Even the sister, the 8-year-old sister, ran in yelling for mom. She said, he's out of control. They're another story. But what I say here, as you can read, is whether you've chosen this work or it chose you, or both, we need each other. And I know that some of you alluded to this earlier, and I know that Lauren talked about the multidisciplinary team, and many others have as well. We need to lean on each other. And when somebody gets under your skin, whatever it is, whether it's countertransference because they remind you of your own family or your nieces and nephews or someone that you know, tell a colleague and talk about it, because that helps you get those emotions under control so that you can be your best professional self for that family. And that's the goal. I'm going to share one more with you. I don't have a slide for him, but this happened at our children's camp 2 weeks ago now, I think. I don't know. It's been a long couple of weeks, but where some of us, again, had the privilege, I say that word a lot because it is, of hanging out for a weekend at Camp Henry Horner with kids who have had someone they love die from ALS, or they have someone from ALS, or excuse me, have someone with ALS at this time. And I was sitting with the teenagers. We were having a sharing circle. Now, these are teenagers. I have 3 of them. You don't really think there could be a lot of conversation. It could be a tricky group. But thankfully, there were a couple who were a little more open. And then this boy who was sitting next to me, he was the biggest guy in the group. I think he's 15, and his mom has ALS. And he wasn't saying anything, and then all of a sudden there was this lull in the conversation. And he, didn't even look up, and he quietly said, I just wish I could do more to help my dad, because he does everything to take care of my mom and my sister. Again, we don't really know what the kids are thinking, so you want to give them this advice that I've shared about being honest. Encourage them to come to us if you're in the Chicago area, because we can work with the family in the home. And if for some reason that's not possible, please encourage them to see an outside counselor therapist so that they can get through this with minimal scarring. The thing I always say to families is that, yes, this will change your children. I won't lie to you. This is going to change your children. However, this doesn't have to be the horrible situation you see on TV or in the movies where it messes the kids up for the rest of their lives. As long as there's open communication and they have people to talk to, they have outlets, they have good examples of parents who are continuing to try to live with a capital L, as I call it, then these kids, yes, will go through something very painful and difficult, but it won't wreck them. In fact, it could make them really, really amazing people. And it usually does, I might add. There's lots of resources to help support families. I probably should have put that up while I was chatting, but please let us know if you need this information. We're so happy to help with any questions that you have about supporting families. And thank you so much for staying around for the end of this.